Hi, I'm Wayne Allen Root for Personal Liberty. Did you watch the hysteria and hype when the Pope showed up in America last week? I hate to be the one who rains on the unicorns, rainbows, babies, and puppies that the mainstream media put on the screen every time the Pope was mentioned, but the reality is this is America where freedom of speech reigns, and I have to tell you what's on my mind. Well, Pope Francis may be a nice man, and I have no doubt that he is a nice man, and he may have good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The reality is the Pope appears to be a hypocrite of the highest order. Not just a hypocrite, but more like a Hollywood hypocrite. As a man of God, I would expect Pope Francis to be lecturing us about religion and spirituality and morality. Unfortunately, those weren't his only topics. They weren't even his main topics. The Pope often sounded like a Hollywood hypocrite looking for the love and adulation of liberal celebrities and the media by lecturing us on politically correct economic issues that he clearly knows absolutely nothing about. And then there's his pleas about illegal immigration. That was like East Germany lecturing America about a wall. More on that later. This Pope neither seems to understand or care that his views on issues like climate change and income redistribution often put him in bed with atheists and socialists who don't believe in God, who mock religion, and who think the Bible is a work of fiction. Isn't that strange company for a man of God to keep? He criticizes the death penalty in America given to heinous murderers while saying nothing about the Castro brothers killing people for their political views. The Pope visited a prison in Philadelphia, but chose not to visit or even be seen with Cubans imprisoned because of their political views. He played best pals with the Castro brothers without ever mentioning that they are evil, murdering tyrants. This Pope condemns capitalism, yet never mentions the poverty the Castro brothers' socialism has imposed on the Cuban people. He chose to ignore that hundreds of billions, perhaps trillions of dollars of wealth accumulated by the Vatican are all the result of donations by successful capitalist Catholics in capitalist nations like America. Capitalism has been very, very, very good to the Catholic Church. This Pope embraces the religion of climate change, ignoring the conflicts of interest and the greed of those scientists whose belief in climate change and global warming just happens to coincide with multi-million-dollar contracts from the EPA. As wrong as the Vatican was about Galileo, it appears to be just as wrong about climate change. Just like Hollywood hypocrites, the Pope chooses to ride around in a small, politically correct car that paints a picture of a frugal man who cares about the environment. At the same time, he flies around the world on a chartered jumbo jet. How offensive to drive around America in a Fiat while escorted by a dozen extra long wheelbase SUVs for security. The Pope saves $25 in each gas fill-up, but spends millions of dollars on gas for his chartered jet and cavalry of gas-guzzling security vehicles. It's absurd. Shouldn't a man of God be above staged photo ops? This Pope embraces Obama as a friend, yet he ignores Obama's dark history of lecturing Christians on any act or statement that offends Muslims, while never mentioning, criticizing, or taking any reasonable action to fight what is clearly a worldwide war on Christians. He ignores the fact that under Obama, over 250,000 Muslim immigrants per year have entered America, yet Christians being persecuted can't get into America. Pope says nothing. And then there's the greatest hypocrisy and conflict of interest in the world today. Pope Francis lecturing America about illegal immigration without a thought as to how to pay for it all, without a thought as to the pain and misery that the higher taxes necessary to support millions of illegals would cause to American parishioners. The media doesn't mention the hypocrisy of this scenario. The Pope gets all lovey-dovey. He gets the love and adulation and donations of millions of poor illegals, but the U.S. taxpayer gets stuck with the bill. How convenient. Here's an idea. Let the Vatican pick up the bill. After all, a great many of these illegals will be adding to the collection plates of Catholic churches in the United States, while all of their bills for welfare and food stamps and free education and free health care and the courts and the cops and the prisons will be coming out of American taxpayer pockets. While we're at it, where's this Pope's pledge to compensate the parents of children murdered by illegal immigrants he embraces and encourages to come to America? And best of all, why not open up the Vatican itself to hordes of illegals? Oh, I forgot. Illegal immigrants can't get into the Vatican because it's surrounded by a big, fat, giant wall, the highest wall I've ever seen. Hey, Pope Francis, in the words of Ronald Reagan, tear down your wall. Why doesn't the Pope fill St. Peter's Square with tents and porta potties? Where's the compassion and the humanity at the Vatican for illegal immigrants? The Pope's views on income redistribution, climate change, and illegal immigration show a total lack of economic knowledge or common sense. Socialism and communism have proven to create, not alleviate, poverty. Only capitalism has freed billions of human beings from poverty. Government regulations to affect climate change and promote illegal immigration will hurt the poor and make them poorer and more dependent on government to survive. That's what the Pope wants? Worse, these policies will bankrupt the middle class, the very people who fill the pews at Catholic churches. Doesn't the Pope care about their suffering? This Pope grew up in Argentina under the socialist government of Juan Perón. The result of those policies has been economic disaster. Argentina has gone from the world's 14th highest GDP per capita to 63rd today. That doesn't sound like income equality to me, more like shared misery. Maybe a man of God should learn not to lecture about economics. If he truly understands those realities, Pope Francis would be condemning socialism and its atheist leaders. He should be promoting conservatism and free market economic views like lower taxes so people can keep more of their own money, reducing the size of government, less government spending on a pathetically failed war on poverty, and building a wall at the border to save the middle class from bankruptcy. You know, the same wall that the Vatican already has. America is the most generous nation in world history, but only capitalism has allowed our citizens to accumulate enough wealth to donate to this Pope's Catholic Church. Is this Pope a bad man? I don't think so. I certainly hope not. Perhaps he's naive. Perhaps he's ignorant of economic reality. Perhaps he doesn't notice the big wall around his home. Maybe he's nearsighted. Perhaps Pope Francis has good intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. My parting message to Pope Francis: before you lecture us about compensation and charity and opening our homes to illegal immigrants, tear down your wall. I'm Wayne Alaroot for Personal Liberty. See you next week. God bless America and save us from hypocrisy in the strangest places.